Thief! He stole police evidence. She screamed it for the whole neighborhood to hear. This was Karen Thompson, my HOA president, face twisted in rage, her master key jammed solid in my front door. It was 6 a.m. She'd just broken into my house for a so-called safety inspection, and now she was accusing me of theft. This was the boiling point after 6 months of her tyranny, but this time, she'd crossed a line she could never uncross. She was about to find out that the quiet accountant she'd been terrorizing was the last person she should have ever messed with. It all started the day I moved in. I was Ben Walker, a freelance accountant who'd finally saved enough for his first home. I hadn't even unpacked my tax files when she appeared. Karen Thompson, president of the Meadowbrook Heights Homeowners Association, stood on my porch with a clipboard clutched like a shield. "Mr. Walker," she announced, "we need to discuss your compliance." Before I could even respond, she launched into a tirade. My moving truck had blocked community sightlines. My lawn showed improper hydration. My garbage bins were 3 inches outside the designated zone. I waited for a punchline that never came. She was dead serious. Then she got personal. "What type of accounting do you do?" she pried. "Home-based businesses require special permits and quarterly compliance reviews. There are, of course, administrative costs." It wasn't a question. It was a threat. "Pay up or face the consequences." That night, a 47-page rulebook arrived, detailing a suburban dictatorship. But the most chilling part was a small print clause. The board could enter any home for emergency safety inspections. It was a license for tyranny, and I knew instinctively she would use it. Before we see how I handled this, I just want to express how much it means to have you here, sharing in these stories. Your engagement and presence in this community is what makes it all worthwhile. If this tale of suburban madness is holding your attention, I'd be incredibly grateful if you'd let the algorithm know by tapping the like button and subscribing. It helps our community grow. All right, let's get back to Karen's kingdom. My fears were confirmed at an emergency HOA meeting. Karen, flanked by her board members, stood before the neighborhood like a judge. "To protect our community from potential threats," she declared, her eyes flicking to me, "the board is implementing the Master Key Security Protocol. All residents will provide a spare house key to the HOA office for emergency inspections." The room buzzed with unease. A retired military man named Tom Bradley, who'd warned me about Karen, stood up. "What's the legal basis for this?" Karen's smile was ice. "County Safety Statute 774B, she rattled off, a completely fabricated law. When I politely asked to see the text of the statute, every head turned. The room went cold. "Mr. Walker," she said, her voice dripping with venom, "perhaps you're not familiar with how responsible neighborhoods operate," she then announced. That questioning her established safety protocols constituted disrupting community harmony, and slapped me with a $200 fine right there in the meeting. It was a public execution designed to make an example of me. Anyone who defied her would be crushed. I knew fighting her openly was what she wanted. It would give her an excuse to escalate. So I did the last thing she expected. I played the part of the defeated resident. The next day, I paid the absurd fine. The following week, I walked into the HOA office, handed over my spare key, and even paid the $75 enhanced monitoring setup cost without a word of protest. From the outside, it looked like I had been broken. Karen held a small victory rally in the park, celebrating how her methods had re-educated the problematic new resident. She thought she had won. In reality, I was just letting her build the cage she would soon find herself trapped in. The wellness check came at 6 a.m. on a Monday. Karen and her 2 cronies were on my doorstep, clipboards ready. "We're here to conduct the scheduled safety inspection," she announced. I stepped aside, playing the part of the compliant, half-asleep homeowner. The moment they were inside, their demeanor shifted. They were predators who had cornered their prey. "Split up," Karen commanded. "Document everything." They tore through my house, opening closets, rummaging through drawers. But I was ready. I followed them silently, my phone recording their every move. The real confrontation happened in my office. "What's in this locked filing cabinet?" she demanded. "Confidential client files," I said calmly. "Tax records, social security numbers. I'm legally obligated to protect them." Her eyes lit up. She had me. Community safety trumps your business concerns, Mr. Walker. Refusing to cooperate suggests you're hiding something. It was the perfect trap. If I complied, I'd violate federal law and lose my career. If I refused, she'd paint me as a criminal. I can't open it, I said firmly. Fine, she sneered. Robert, call 911. Tell them we have a resident concealing materials that pose a community risk. 20 minutes later, 2 city police officers were in my living room. Karen launched into a dramatic performance about my suspicious behavior. But the senior officer, Officer Harris, was sharp. He asked her to show him the specific law that gave her the authority to search my private business documents. Karen handed him her HOA covenant. He barely glanced at it. Ma'am, he said, his voice firm, private community covenants do not override the U.S. Constitution. You cannot conduct a warrantless search. Karen's face crumbled. She had been humiliated. As the police left, she turned to me, her voice a low hiss. This isn't over, Mr. Walker. I'm very good at staying vigilant. I knew then that she was done with small fines. Her next move would be to destroy me completely. Her revenge was swift. A certified letter arrived, a cease and desist notice with $8,700 in fabricated civil penalties. A private investigator started digging into my past. I knew this was her endgame, so I set my own. I paid the $8,700 fine, letting her believe she'd financially broken me. I left real estate listings scattered on my kitchen counter and made loud, desperate phone calls about needing to sell my house and escape. I was feeding her ego, making her believe her prey was cornered, defeated, and preparing to flee. A neighbor, Tom, called me, his voice a panicked whisper. Ben, she's planning something big. The PI she hired found nothing on you, and it's made her even more paranoid. She's convinced you're a sophisticated criminal. She's planning to use the master key to break in and plant evidence if she has to. That was it, the final piece of the puzzle. I spent the next 48 hours preparing my house not to move out, but for a very special guest. I placed a single cardboard box in my closet, clearly labeled Evidence, FBI Training Materials. Inside, I put realistic prop packages of seized narcotics, complete with official evidence tags and chain of custody forms. It was perfect bait. Then I packed a suitcase, drove away with a look of utter defeat on my face, and parked 3 blocks away. I circled back through the woods behind my house, settling into my own basement, where I had a clear view of every camera I had secretly installed. I was now a ghost in my own home, waiting for the Queen to walk into her own dungeon. She thought she was about to expose a dangerous criminal. She had no idea she was the star of a federal sting operation. It's stuck, Karen hissed, jiggling the master key. It was stuck because I'd filed microscopic grooves into the lock, trapping the physical evidence of her crime right in my door. After a crowbar to my back door, they were in. They searched frantically until Karen let out a shriek of triumph from my bedroom. I found it! She held up the prop drugs, her face glowing with victory. FBI evidence tags. He stole them! Call 911, she commanded. Tell them we need immediate federal response. She was practically giddy, pacing my living room, rehearsing the speech she would give to the agents who were coming to arrest me. A single patrol car rolled onto my street, lights flashing. Neighbors poured onto their lawns, phones out, ready for my perp walk. Karen stood by my broken door, a conquering hero. The car door opened, and I stepped out, in full county sheriff's detective uniform. Karen froze. Her mind couldn't process it. The man she'd terrorized, the criminal she'd just exposed, was walking toward her, badge gleaming. Ma'am, I said, my voice calm and official. Detective Ben Walker, County Sheriff's Department. I understand you called about federal evidence on these premises. Her jaw hung open. You're a cop? Detective Ben Walker, Shield 4792, I stated, pulling out my handcuffs. Assigned to Operation Silent Guard, a federal task force investigating civil rights violations by HOA officials. Karen Thompson, you are under arrest for breaking and entering, evidence tampering, and conspiracy to violate civil rights. Her legs gave out and she collapsed onto my couch. As I cuffed her, I could see the neighbors staring in stunned silence. The master key, her symbol of absolute power, was now Exhibit A in the federal case that would dismantle her entire criminal network. Karen's reign of terror was over. But her confession under questioning revealed that her consulting business had created dozens of other HOA tyrants across the country, all using her playbook. My work in Meadowbrook Heights was done. But Operation Silent Guard was just getting started. What do you think is a just punishment for someone who abuses their power like this? Let me know in the comments, and make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next chapter in this investigation.